Hola, buenas tardes.
Good afternoon. My name is E.Di Fabio. I'm part of GENEXUS Solutions. My intention is to tell you about an experience we had with RICOH, which is a company I guess you might know. And in the end, we will have the witness of, we will have a testimony by Ricardo Villegas. To tell you about Develop, you probably know us because of our products. We are a company that provides services and products to the GENEXUS community. We have worked with class and smart devices class products, which improve the effectiveness in terms of generating applications. We are present in more than 20 countries, either through our products or through the projects that we've sold. And we are Gold Solution Partner, which gives us quite an important connection with our tech. In terms of RICOH, well, this is a multinational company from Japan. It started manufacturing photo cameras. Then it became a major manufacturer of printers. It's member of the Fortune 500 and has had sales for exceeding $20 billion. What happened and what do I want to tell you today? We had an opportunity. RICOH was trying to make a technology change. It wanted to adopt new technologies for their mobile applications. So it came to us. They said that they wanted to investigate GENEXUS and see whether they could adopt that platform. And RICOH told us about running a concept test, which is to take a reduced set of features, particularly taking into account the requirements the client has, and quickly generate a prototype that might comply with those requirements. We are working for RICOH Latin America. They have an application which is called Mobile Meter Reading, which we have called Lecturistas in Spanish. And basically, this aims at a client that has a RICOH printer and taking the monthly consumption of that client from RICOH. So they wanted to see in RICOH whether they could migrate to new technologies. Along that plan, they had different requirements from a strategic and operational point of view. In terms of strategic requirements, they were especially interested in testing the tool and see whether it was going to respond to their needs. In terms of the operational requirements, they were more general, for example, taking into account the time and effort made and compare it with other actions. Among the strategic requirements, they were interested in seeing the offline capacity, because sometimes they would not be able to be online, so this was very important within their requirements. They also wanted to be able to capture the client's signature on the screen as a way of validating data. They also wanted to have QR code reading or barcode reading because their equipment identified that way, so that was more convenient for them. They also wanted to have integrated AD authentication so that they didn't have to use other passwords. Another requirement was that it had a multi-platform capacity. From an operational point of view, they were interested in the general flow of the application. They wanted to have something which was wizard style in terms of testing and finalizing data. They wanted to have UI flexibility too. Even though this is for internal services, at a certain time they might be generating something for the end customer, so they wanted to see what they would be able to achieve. They also have internal systems, databases, and they wanted to see how they interacted. And we were seeing the interaction with SQL Server. And they also wanted to test integration with Google Maps in terms of geolocation and seeing how they could improve the client location and how to present this to their users. In terms of development and effort, these were very important for them. They wanted to see how powerful GENEXUS was and how long it would take us to do that, and how we were going to solve this effort. Just to show you, we had a very concrete concept test with some restrictions, some business rules we're not taking into account here because we wanted to do something very fast. This was done for iOS and for Android, for mobile. So we responded to the strategic need of having a multi-platform capacity, having interaction with external systems. There were no difficulties here. We were able to take the information from their customers, from their equipment, with no inconvenience. And in terms of AD integrated authentication, we were able to do this with custom authentication, and we implemented a small procedure there. And this is how we were able not to generate new users and new passwords. In terms of UI flexibility, in order to do this quick, we use Smart Devices Plus. Some of the layouts that are over there on default, we use a RICOH color. So we showed that in a very simple way we were able to have a flexible UI. In terms of the integration with Google Maps, we showed it just by using a layout that has a map on top and a list below, which allows to locate the list items in the map. In terms of the offline capacity, well, I represented it here with this menu with the items synchronized because I wanted to know whether they could do this manually. They can do this both ways. Whenever there's connectivity, GENEXUS detects the necessary synchronization, but it can also be done upon request of the user. So with Evolution 3, this was quite simple to do. This allows to update the client list that you have to visit without having to synchronize the equipment locally at an office. And the barcode reading that I mentioned, this was a QR code, which was done with an API from GENEXUS, so this was no problem. Something else that we wanted to do was to have a general flow wizard style. We did that taking the prior layout. We selected a client. We presented the prior reading. We had to confirm some data. Then we request for the new reading. And just to conclude, the most interesting thing is that we request the client to sign. Yesterday, we mentioned some of the projects that we did in develop lately, and this was one of the most relevant things. We just take an external library through a user control, and we can enter a signature in the system by doing that. In this case, a signature is not a legally valid signature. This is just a way of saying, okay, I saw this. This is something that I was asked yesterday. It will depend on each country to decide whether that signature will be legally valid or not. In terms of the concept test, before finishing it, we presented the results to RICOH. It had taken 108 hours of development plus some more time for management. So then we had a meeting with them where they assessed the whole thing. Carlos will be telling you about what they specifically assessed, but they said two things. One, they said that GENEXUS was a platform they wanted to develop their next mobile applications with. And second, they wanted to do that with develop. Specifically, We're already working on making an application of lecturistas, that is to say, to include the details of the things that we omitted for the concept test, plus some other items that had been outside the list. This application will be extended to people who are in charge of taking collections, of collecting the money. It's a very similar flow, and it will be included in the same application. We are also about to start with the development of an application for services, mobile services too. And even though the concept test was run on mobile, there was an interest and a need for develop something for the web. We're starting with something quite simple. However, we are using everything from GENEXUS 3. We're using responsive, smooth properties. We're showing how powerful this is so that when this web area grows, it might become more and more interesting. That was our experience. This was a 1-month experience. This was very quick. It's quite an important client for us, and it makes quick decisions. It moves with a speed we can respond to. With GENEXUS, we can provide quick developments, and they respond from a business point of view and also from their interest point of view. I will now present you Carlos Villegas, who is the president from RICOH Latin America. He's coming now from the U.S., and he will give us an idea of some concepts about the company. First of all, let's talk about some history. I have been only for 8 months in the company, and we've made many transformations in the company so that the client knows what technology we can use. So as a first item, I had previously worked in another company, which was Royal Sun Alliance, and there we launched a tool in 2008, which was for accidents. So through a mobile device, we started with an Android. There's a report about an accident. We take a picture. We know where it physically is, and then we send information to the central so that a phone operator might call me and tell me, are you okay? Can you move? And what type of insurance do you have? In 2008, this was the beginning of iPhone, so we had to build this for one device and then for another one. That meant 2 developers, one found in London, the other one in the US, and that implied a development time with 2 different companies. So every time there was one change, we had to make improvements, but that also meant different timelines, and we were not able to have such a quick turnaround in terms of the market. The device would give us a fax sheet, then we had to give that to a phone operator, but now this is already integrated. This can give us information about the accident, the progress on that accident, etc. But this is not the right tool for every market. That was replicated in Canada with BlackBerry, in Japan, where we had to do it for a device for Windows. And that meant an overdevelopment with source code. Same way, we had an internal application done. And this meant that we had to do one platform, and we were not able to have diversification in terms of any platform. But this was always done on device iOS, since we are in the US, and it was easy to obtain those devices. What we're trying to find now within RICOH, we said, let's find a new platform. we had developed an application which was only developed for iOS. And in terms of collections, it was done for Android. This took us some time and meant some cost. And we said we need to find a tool that gives us more than this. And when we came to RICOH Uruguay, they were already in contact with GENEXUS. And we have AS400 equipment, and we had been working with GENEXUS for a long time, but we had never got into this arena of the mobile world. So we requested a concept test that took far shorter than we expected. It took 1/6 of the development time that we were expecting with the same specifications in order to be able to have the whole concept. And the advantage of that is that nowadays, for example, in Argentina, in terms of the Lecturistas application, there's a company that only works with BlackBerry. And so the advantage of having a single platform that can give us 4 solutions, that's what we're actually looking for. As you can see there, we have one code, and we want to be able to incorporate pictures so that the validity of the signature can be used for all the informations. So we are trying to manufacture an application where clients can see their performance with different charts, information, making it so rich that clients know what's going on in their computer. Since it's necessary to have readings like this, we are now incorporating devices such as app remote, which will take this in an automatic way. So we think that this is a win-win situation as a company from a point of view that we can quickly manage everything to the client and to the market with a partner that allows us to have different platforms for different clients or different markets in Latin America. We're covering all the countries in Latin America with the exception of French Guiana. And this allows us to be able to easily reach and offer whatever people want, when they want, and how they want it. We have a strong mission. We just want, we don't want to do just internal applications, but we want to offer clients something so that they can measure their consumption, and so that we can have interaction between printers and applications. We have realized that this is sort of a big brother thing, since our meter readers are people in service, and the people who make collections are on the street. They have a mobile phone, and this allows us to redirect services based on the urgency of a certain client and based on the need. So what we're testing now is, once we receive a client call, we activate a clock, which is telling us the time in which we can get to that client, and then the client will be able to say, stop the clock when we are dealing with the client. Second, when we are correcting the solution. And third, when the client has been satisfied from the point of view of his request. We're doing this with surveys, and we want to be able to have an idea of what is really achieved through this in terms of our clients. So we're excited, we're thrilled with this, and we feel that now we have a two-way partner from GENEXUS and from a developed point of view in order to be able to react better. Thank you very much. Any questions? I was really surprised that you did something that I was only able to do once in my life, which is to take an application, develop it with one language, and then develop it with another language, that is with GENEXUS. We did that with a government agency that was very big in my country, and the results were totally impressive, but we were never able to tell anything about it because it was a government-related thing, so we had to be confidential about it. The second thing, I want to make a disclaimer. I am a GENEXUS client, I think since version number 3, where we still had some dinosaurs around, so it's been a while already. But ever since, I have been working in many parts and different projects, and I find that you are only beginning to scratch the surface of GENEXUS benefits, because as soon as you start using business intelligence or workflow, we really use workflow a lot. There's a huge number of things you can do. I work in the U.S. I have been living there for 35 years, but there's a cultural difference there in terms of U.S. companies accepting GENEXUS as a tool and to accept a paradigm that has been very difficult for every company that has had to tackle that, because every company has failed and GENEXUS has succeeded in that. So there's a huge action here in terms of convincing people. It's so much easier to penetrate a company, but the benefits that you obtain are great. I just wanted to share this with you. Thank you very much. I have been working in Latin America for 15 years, always as systems executive. Sometimes it's very hard to change things, but what I've seen is that we are really supported by Latin American companies. And I don't think I will go any other place. And the results from our company have been very worthwhile. As you said, we're only scratching the surface. Agustin and Nicolas might tell you, but this is a very strong environment, and we need your support to be able to do this. Thank you.
Hello, I'm from Japan.
Bueno, soy de Japón y el CEO de Japón conoce sus actividades muy bien. Do you want... No puedo hablar español. No, we are working on the area of Latin America. This is a prototype. The prototype has already been tested in Colombia, and we're now testing it in Chile. We will make an official tool, and once this becomes an official tool, it will be revised by RAC that belongs to the U.S. and the Americas, and then to Japan, so that Japan knows what we are doing and how we are doing it. Our aim is, yes, we want to do that, but we want to do that with the steps that are wanted in Japan. It has to be well tested, it has to be proved, it has to work, and it has to be able to be replicated in other markets, not just Latin America, but the rest of the world. So this is a pilot, and we intend to take it not just to Japan, but to Europe and the US too.